Welcome to Pody Says, Petty Revenge, for all the stories of small victories over those who've wronged someone. Want to complain about your food at the fundraiser? Let's just take that off your bill. So this isn't my story, but it's my fiance's from last night. I wanted to post it because it had me rolling on the floor. So my fiance is a server at a local brewery. Yesterday, a local church wanted to have a fundraiser there so that people would come in, buy food, some of the money would go to the charity. You know, the basic drill of how a fundraiser works. Well, one of the customers came in and ordered French onion soup. The restaurant offers soups and bread bowls if you want, but because of the fundraiser and how busy it was, they ran out. Well, French onion soup lady really wants that bread bowl. My fiance says, "I'm sorry, we actually just ran out, but I can bring you a regular bowl and some bread on the side if you like." But obviously, this isn't good enough. She must have her bread bowl. So she asks, "What are you going to do about it? I always get the bread bowl." My fiance reiterates, "I can bring it out in a regular bowl and have bread on the side for you." Not good enough. But there's nothing she can do, so she gets the bowl. Doesn't get the bread because it's not a bowl? Whatever, moving on. She gets called over again, only to be told by a French onion lady that she always gets cheddar cheese on top of her soup, something they definitely don't offer because they don't have grated cheddar cheese. They literally have a block of cheddar that they can hand chop. My fiance says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. Let me go take care of that." At this point, there's a few other things that go wrong with this lady's meal, like there were no straws, or whatever stupid spoiled antics she could pull. Towards the end of the meal, my fiance lets the manager know that she had a table that might complain, but here's the story ahead of time. Well, the manager, knowing she was part of the fundraiser, decides to get really petty and walks up to the table and French onion lady, "Ma'am, I heard that there were some issues with your soup today. I'm so sorry to hear about it, but I wanted to let you know that because of the trouble, we removed it from your bill," and walks away. The whole reason for her being there was to buy food so that money would get donated to the charity. But because of her Karen attitude, the manager removes the soup from the bill, meaning she no longer donated to the charity, and makes her look bad in front of her church and friends. Horse Around thinks, "This reminds me of a time when I worked at a cafe. A customer ordered a donut and a side of cream cheese. What the So I got it for him and also gave him a butter knife. He then asked for a spoon? Again? Luckily, he wasn't a Karen and he was actually pretty nice, but the needs from him just seem so damn weird. He says he thinks a spoon can spread better than a knife, but obviously with a donut completely threw me off. Schnoog has a quick one-liner. This seems like it could be a win for the Karen." OP says, "How so? The whole reason she went to the restaurant was to get a meal that would have money go to charity. Because of her Karenism, her food was comped, so she didn't end up donating anything to the charity, again, which was the whole reason she was there. Not to mention, her friends and fellow church members at the table seeing this go down only to result in no money going to the charity?" Teacher lost my test and said I never took it, so I passed her class with the highest grade and rubbed her nose in it. This is almost 10 years ago now, but in my freshman year of high school, I had this English teacher who was retiring at the end of the year. She was one of those teachers that just no one liked. Tough, but not in a good way, if you know what I mean, and rude. I was always a good student, but had some health issues that caused me to miss class more frequently than other students. One of these days I missed was a test. That's fine. I emailed my teacher saying I would be out and that I could make it up the next day during lunch. Long story short, I take the test the next day and forget all about it. A week before finals, my test finally gets graded, a 0. I meet with the teacher very respectfully to ask why and get told that I never took it and called me a liar. Got my parents immediately involved. My dad is a very assertive person and told her in clear words, "If my child said they took a test, then my child took the test. And I don't appreciate you calling them a liar over your mistake." Something like that I don't really remember. Nothing happens until the day of the final. My grade dropped from a 90 to a 60, and she refused to recommend me for honors classes the next year. In order to get into honors or AP, the related teacher you took had to give a recommendation. I took the final, and it was the best I had done on an English exam to this point. When turning it in, she told me, "I hope you learned your valuable lesson this year." I responded, "I sure did. My father's a good dad, and some teachers only pretend to care about students loving the power they have over children." As I walked out the room and never saw her again, finishing her class with a 96. It's not really revenge, But as someone with very little in their body for confrontation, it felt so good to walk out of that classroom and see the absolute surprised face she had on. Edit. Forgot to mention, she dropped the test, but waited until the day of the final to do so. Unavailable Madness has a thought. Good for you. I hate teachers on a power trip. OP responds, not getting into honors or AP because of her had really stressed me out and made me want to say way more to her. In the end, I'm thankful for her not letting me move up. It made school more enjoyable and less stressful worrying about tougher classes. Pepper Queen 1209 thought, I had a teacher like that, but she was a straight up hag, loving to torment kids. She made inappropriate comments all the time too. We were in 7th grade and my friend was zoning out when she was teaching and she decided to say, hey, stop staring at my chest. Just because they're nice doesn't mean it's okay to not pay attention. She was like 70 and he was like 12. Everyone was just quiet and it made everyone uncomfortable. Another time, she gave me detention for standing up to turn in my test. She literally screamed at me in front of everyone. Goes off on 12-year-old me like she's an army sergeant. I hated her guts. I have to come into class for a test? See how that plays out. So years ago in my first year of high school, I had a crush on a guy. We'll call him H. H was nerdy, but cute in my adolescent eyes. Fast forward a year or two, and it's our junior year. We're friends, but nothing romantic. We had physics together as our first class of the day. I wake up in the morning, and I know I'm sick. I got the burning eyes, the cold sweats, everything. My mom gives me permission to stay home, and I gladly accept. My plan was to just come in late when I felt better. A few minutes after our first class starts, I get a text from H. He says we have a test, and anyone who isn't there automatically gets an F. I panic and haul myself to school with a note excusing my late arrival. There was no test. H was just trying to F with me. He even laughed at me. Cue the revenge. I came into class with a damn fever, so petty revenge was obviously in order. My parents and I had done a white elephant gift exchange a year ago, so I had the most random thing in my possession, a car paint marker. I was out for blood, but didn't want H to know. I was calm around him, although distant. Fast forward a few days. I had a parking spot in the school lot that is less monitored. It was generally used for senior students, and most of them were allowed to leave school early. I took advantage of this and used my I need to run to my car excuse and ran out there. He parked in the same lot, just closer to the road that the buses drove by. I took that damn marker and wrote his own number all over his car. I didn't cover the windshield or back glass, but almost every other part was covered. I knew that the buses would drive by with 40 plus kids on each. We had upwards of 4,000 kids at our school, probably 1/3 rode the bus. So a bunch of kids. And what else do you do on the bus if not stare out the window? I wrote all sorts of call me, text me sort of stuff. He needed to pay. The next day he confronted me, and I played dumb. What are you talking about, H? I think he knows it was me, but I never confirmed it, until now. He probably goes on Reddit, so maybe this is my confession. If H sees this, F you. Zorab1 has a comment. Car paint markers do not damage the car and are removable with cleaner like Windex. Must have been a pain to clean. Non-specific DNA thought, ha! Sounds like revenge I got on a guy in college for talking trash about me to a guy that liked me on the basketball team. When I found out, I did the same thing, wrote on his windows, but I wish I would have thought to put his phone number. That was brilliant! OP's response, thanks! I'm too non-confrontational to do anything else. Manager wanted us to do extra jobs we weren't hired for, so we just took longer doing our regular jobs. Just to get this out of the way. Written on mobile, so sorry for formatting, and TLDR at the bottom. So I used to work for a supermarket delivering people's shopping, and 2 of my shifts fell into the evening. Both shifts were 7 p.m. to 11 p.m., and there were barely any deliveries between 10 p.m. and 11 p.m., if any at all. The manager of our department just used to let us go at 10 p.m. unpaid, or you could hang around and do odd jobs like tidying up, etc. And then the new store manager showed up. What I can only assume was an attempt to stamp some authority down, anyone who was back from their deliveries early was made to work in the main part of the supermarket. Now, a lot of the guys working on the evening deliveries were older gents on part-time, just waiting for retirement, who didn't want to be out dealing with the general public. So, a plan was made. A very simple plan. Just don't get back to the store until 10:45. By the time all the van unloading was done, it was 11 and time to go. So most days, there were about 10 drivers just sitting in vans for 1 to 2 hours getting paid to sit on their butts. Now these vans did have cameras and such in them, but could not be accessed by anyone in the store. Could only be accessed by people out of the store if there was an accident, for insurance stuff. All of this pissed the store manager off. On the evenings he was in, he'd wait and ask where we were when we got back, and we could basically say anything and he couldn't disprove it. One of my favorite encounters went like this. "Your van was due back at 9:45. Why are you back an hour late?" "Traffic." "Where was this traffic?" "Can't remember." "You expect me to believe you got stuck in traffic for an hour at 9 p.m. at night?" "Nope." Walks off. This nonsense went on for about 3 months before he caved and went back to the old system. Our department manager eventually told us this was because the cost of our department went up by about £2,000 a month in wages after we stopped going home early, and his boss wondered why. TLDR, store manager tried to make delivery drivers work in the store instead of leaving early, so we sat around in our vans doing nothing and got paid for it. Ulrich the Elder says, "I worked as a garbage man. Heavy work hoisting cans and tipping them into the truck. This job was so hard that the village where I worked let you go home with full pay if you finished early. New boss, no leaving early, and the job was never finished early ever again. Great job, boss." Meercast Manor closes us out. Ah, my favorite kind of petty. The kind that costs idiotic managers money.